Welcome back to another Battle Wagon adventure. I was driving around testing out the PA system and I realized it's rather annoying that every time I want to use it, I've got to open this up, go plug this in, pull this out and turn it on and make sure the speaker is still plugged into the back, and then try to find this thing over here and then reach across and use it. It's a total pain in the ass, and the glove box setup is really just inconvenient. Another issue is when this is hanging down, if you have a passenger here, you got to just pray they have small legs. It's not horrible, but it's not comfortable for them, and it also looks like shit to have this thing just open with all this spare nonsense that I might have left in there. What I will be doing today is trying to find a more permanent home. Spend some more time digging around trying to find something. There's no way that I can sit it in here. I can fit it in the din area if I chop up the din and get rid of it permanently, which I'm trying to not do. I also had to propose that I could hang it from the roof, but again, I'm worried about it cutting into the ceiling, causing a leak. And running the wires behind the headliner is more of a pain in the ass than it's worth to me. Anywhere in my footwell is gonna smack into my knees when I'm driving. The home I think I finally decided on is I'm gonna mount it pretty much right here. And that way, this is sticking up a bit, so I'm a little worried about the doggo hitting that. But she's hitting that, she's also probably gonna hit the shifter, so we got bigger issues. If this goes about here, I can put the walkie-talkie clippy thing here. That'll at least be out of the way so people won't just be miscellaneously bumping into it. And if you slide forward, I mean, who is a passenger is really gonna slide farther forward than this? You know, like no one's trying to give themselves this little leg room. I'm reasonably tall, I'm about 6'2", and this is a comfortable location. So I'm thinking if this is always right here, that'll leave more than enough space for whomever's in the vehicle. Then I never really put anyone in the back seat. So if someone's in the back seat and their legs are crushed, fuck them. Here we go on another Battle Wagon adventure. I'm gonna have to rip this all up again, even though I just put it back together, and try to, that pulled apart in a different spot. That's a thing? I can do that? Wow. Technology, man. That's what I meant to do. So now I'm pulling all this apart again, making sure there's nothing that I'm inadvertently going to drill into on the back side. I'm going to make sure the screws are long enough to comfortably get in, but not so long that they just destroy all my electronics or whatever else is hidden back there. So let's do it. Looking at these side brackets for the mounting, you're supposed to put the little screw turny things, these right here, through the center hole, which means it stands off a little bit more. It's not horribly protruding, but it is a little more far out than I would like on that bracket. I was eyeing these holes here. It doesn't fit comfortably in those. Those are only for the din mounting based on the pattern, based on the side brackets we saw in here when I was doing the radio. And while I don't really use this din pocket that much, again, with the width difference that is here, that's a solid, 2-inch gap on one side. That's really not a good thing to be looking at all the time. It's also not quite big enough to fit this just in that gap next to it. Otherwise, I would consider it because I could just store it in there. So I guess I'm going to put the bracket on in those center holes, see how far it's protruding here on the side, and if it's not an issue, I'll just end up mounting it there. Similarly, I'm going to have to clean up these wires a bit. I'm obviously not going to keep them run through the dashboard anymore. I'm going to take off this center console bit again, wire them down and through, and you can see down here a little bit, my fingers are going through. No problem going through there. I'm a little worried about it catching on this edge and potentially wearing through over time. But it's not really going to be a wire that's seeing a whole lot of motion. It's only going to be this wire for the walkie-talkie part that's really going to be moving. So it shouldn't be a problem with it cutting in. If it is, what I can do is just drill another hole farther down or file down a little bit of that bottom lip, and hopefully that'll prolong the life of the wires. What it's looking like is I'll have it sit about right here. That's not too bad unless someone's going spread eagle in the passenger seat. They're definitely going to hit their knee on it. But as an added bonus for the Battle Wagon and a detriment to the Battle Wagon passengers. It's going to keep their knees away from the damn shift knob so they're not blocking it when I'm trying to go to 5th gear because they don't know how a damn manual transmission works. Shout out to all the people who drive manuals and understand why that's so frustrating. But anyway, if this is about here, down here, it might hit this floor carpet a little bit, but it's not going to cut through anything. Fortunately, this didn't come with any self-tapping screws. The 2 screws that it came with were these ones, which are just to hold the din in place. It does have these 2 screws that came with it to hold the thingamajob, the walkie-talkie part, the shouty box, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, it's got 2 screws to hold that in. I'm assuming potentially to the side of this. So then I'm thinking I'll do that, get some self-tapping screws to drill it in, and I will be done. These are not actually the right size to thread into the side, so what I'll be doing is taking these 2 DIN screws from the other side and using those to try to hold on the shouty box to the actual CB radio. I have just collected my assortment of different size and shape hammers that I will be using for this job. This is all ready to go. What I'm going to have to do is just mark where I'm going to poke my holes through, make sure there's nothing on the back side. What I will be doing to power this, because I don't want to keep this plug obviously, is I will be disconnecting the back of this cigarette lighter. Now I just have to pick the right size and shape hammer and I'm going to get this done. Drilling a pilot hole would be a much smarter idea, but this is the Battle Wagon. I forgot to check which plug was the PA in the background there, so what I did is I put my front-facing camera on, angled it out as much as I could, and then just tried to figure out which one said PA. So I'll have to test it before finishing, and it's not a huge deal, just unplug it and plug it into the other one if it doesn't work. Now what I'm going to try to do is either tee in or split off of the cigarette lighter power like I said I was going to, and permanently connect the wires so that it's always powered. So how I am going to do this is I got these 2 little vampire clippy type wires. Basically what this does is it connects the first wire that you're running through to whatever you happen to be running in parallel. So I don't have a whole lot of space to do it, but here are my positive and negative wires. I'm going to be going off of those to connect the power to these more permanently, and that will actually maintain use of the cigarette lighter and the CB radio. If I start running more things off of them or running both of these at once, I can probably blow a fuse, but I think just because it's these 2 and I never really use the cigarette lighter, I should be fine. I shouldn't say I will be fine. There's no guarantees in life, obviously, other than that you pay taxes and you die. I'm going to try that now. If for some reason it doesn't work on this length of wire, I'll have to solder those back together, figure out what they're tying into upstream, unwrap it, and tap in farther up, which I really do not want to do. So let's just try to get this right. Having not done these before, I'm just trying to get a little wire exposed because I'm not overly confident that these are going to cut through the main wire I'm teeing off of otherwise. Also, make sure your wire is run before you permanently crimp it into place, which is a mistake I almost just made. I almost feel like that was too easy, so I must have done something wrong. With that said, what I'm going to do is try to turn the key into the on position, make sure the radio actually works, and if it does, get everything back together. Looks like it works. Despite almost losing the Battle Wagon keys, it does in fact work. Now that that is settled, I'm going to get the wires tidied up on the inside, probably zip tie them back together. Get all this put back together and call it quits. Go take out the motorcycle and enjoy one of the last riding days of the season. And that concludes another Battle Wagon project. Thank you for watching. My neighbors probably fucking hate me.